Again, another one, narrated Abu Huraira. I heard Allah's Apostle saying, the example of the mujahid is in Allah's cause, and Allah knows better who really strives in His cause, is like a person who fasts and prays continuously. Allah guarantees that He will admit the mujahid in his cause into paradise if he is killed. Otherwise, he will return to his home safely with reward and war booty. So it's a win-win situation. Either you die and you go to Allah's paradise, or you win and you have all this reward. Now this is Sahih Muslim number 6666. Allah's Apostle, may peace be upon him, said, no Muslim would die, but Allah would admit in his stead a Jew or a Christian in hellfire. How's that for logic? Another one goes like this. Sahih Muslim 6668. Allah's Messenger said, there would come people against the Muslims on the day of resurrection with as heavy sins as a mountain, and Allah would forgive them, and He would place in their stead, guess who? The Jews and the Christians. Now, I have to remind everyone listening to this that these are number 1 and number 2 of the most authentic sources of ahadith, containing the authentic sayings of Islam's only conduit, which is Muhammad. If Muslims will deny the authenticity of these sayings attributed to their prophet, then my point about isnads being unreliable has been established. Now, how is that logical, Bassam? And why didn't you mention these ways of salvation as means to escape Allah's judgment and instant access into paradise, i.e. to escape the consequences of one's sins? As David Wood said recently in his debate with Adnan Rashid, Muslims try to make Muhammad and Islam look like Yeshua and Christianity, and in the process they want to make Yeshua and Christianity look like Islam and Muhammad. I think that point is very well taken.
I'm afraid that Dr. White didn't address the "let this cup pass from me" verse to my satisfaction. He gave a general response by saying that Muslims cut up the New Testament and don't appreciate the pressure that Jesus was under as a sinless person. However, that doesn't answer my question. Doesn't the statement, "let this cup pass from me," show that Jesus wasn't willing? Well, to me it does. If He was willing, He wouldn't have said such a thing. If you are willing to go to the grocery store to pick up some goods for your parents, are you going to say, "Please pass this chore on to someone else besides me"? Well, no, of course not. Only someone who is not willing to go to the grocery store would say something like that. So I think the same logic could be applied to Jesus' case.
This is way too simplistic, Bassam. Let's demonstrate what happens when you let the New Testament speak for itself as opposed to when you chop it into bits and pieces like you Muslims do, and then take what you like and then disregard what you don't. I will limit myself to the book of Matthew, starting with Matthew 1 verse 21. We see the angel saying to Joseph, she, Mary, will bear a son, and you shall call his name Yeshua, for he will save his people from their sins. Now, the name Yeshua comes from the word Yasha in Hebrew, which means to save. So his name will be Yeshua, for he will, Yasha, save his people from their sins. Now, what does that mean? Well, we go to Matthew 16, where Yeshua foretells his death and tells his disciples what he's going to do, what his purpose is for being there. Okay? So we read him saying in verse 21, from that time Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things at the hands of the elders and the chief priest and scribe, and be killed and be raised up on the third day. Okay? Then we go to Matthew 17. We see him repeating the same thing in verse 22 through 23. He says, "The Son of Man is going to be delivered in the hands of men, and they will kill him, and he will be raised on the third day." In Matthew 20, we read the same thing in verses 17 through 19. He took the 12 disciples aside and said to them, "Behold, we are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be delivered to the chief priests and the scribes, and they will condemn him to death, and will hand him over to the Gentiles to mock and scourge and crucify him, and on the third day he will raise up." Again, Matthew 20, "Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as ransom for many." Again, we go to Matthew 26, verse 1 and 2. "When Jesus had finished all these words, he said to his disciples, 'You know that after 2 days the Pesach is coming, and the Son of Man is to be handed over to crucifixion.'" Again, Matthew 26, verse 27 to 28. We see him doing the following. Now this is the Pesach Seder. This is what we celebrate every Passover. And when he had taken the cup and given thanks, he gave it to them, saying, "Drink from it, all of you, for this is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many for forgiveness of sins." Okay? And only after that we come to your text that you brought up to show that he was unwilling to go to the cross. Verse 39. I'm going to read verse 39 now. "And he went a little beyond them, and fell on his face and prayed, saying, 'My Father, if it's possible, let this cup pass from me, yet not as I will, but as you will.'" We read in verse 42, "He went away again a second time, and prayed, saying, 'My Father, if this cannot pass away unless I drink it, your will be done.'" And we read in verse 44, "And he left them again, and went away and prayed a third time, saying the same thing once more." Now we have Matthew 26, verse 52 and 54. Now this is after he supposedly showed unwillingness to go to the cross. This is verse 52 through 54. "Then Jesus said to him, 'Put your sword back.'" Now Peter is trying to defend him to prevent him to go to the cross. Now look at what he does. "Put your sword back into his place, for all those who take up the sword shall perish by the sword." Verse 53, "Or do you think that I cannot appeal to my Father, and he will at once put at my disposal more than 12 legions of angels? How then will the scriptures be fulfilled which say that it must happen this way?" How is this showing his reluctance to go to the cross? All this shows his willingness rather than his reluctance to do what he was supposed to do. This was his goal and the sole purpose of him being there. Now, if he was unwilling to do so, he wouldn't rebuke Peter from preventing him to go to the cross, would he? It seems that the immediate context, Bassam, answers your question, but then again, that's what happens when you chop up the New Testament into pieces you like and into pieces you don't like. Since you ask for statements in the Gospels, here's John 10. John 10 verse 11. "I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. Verse 15. Even as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I will lay down my life for the sheep. Verse 17. For this reason the Father loves me, because I lay down my life so I may take it again. Verse 18. No one has taken it away from me, i.e. his life, but I lay it down on my own initiative. I have authority to lay it down, and I have authority to take it up again. This is the commandment I received from my Father. How is this showing reluctance to do what he has to do? And that, my friends, happens when you let the New Testament speak for itself. I believe with this the deal is sealed.